buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Across the world on the interwebs at MichaelDukesShow.com and broadcasting across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or translator. It is The Michael Dukes Show. Say it with some reverence now. The Michael Dukes Show. Hey, hi, how are you? It's Monday. Fun Day Monday. That's what it's all about today. Welcome back to the program, and thanks for coming in and joining us. Today's going to be a fun day, I can tell you already, because I'm feeling a little frisky, feeling a little froggy today. I got some things to say. And I want to just want to warn you ahead of time. Got some things to say today, and it should be fun and interesting. No guest lined up for today. I thought JKT was going to be joining us, and then he told me that he ended up being on an early morning flight. So we're hoping to have him on the show later this week. Ron Gillum's going to be joining us on Wednesday, along with Mike Shower. Nick Begich hopefully will be with us on Thursday. And tomorrow is Brad Keithley, Chris Story. So, I mean, I got most of the week already lined up, and so hopefully we're able to make all that happen and do it to it. That's the plan anyway. We'll do it. We're back on YouTube this morning. Finally, my 1 week ban that turned into, good Lord, what's it been? Almost 15 days until it finally came back. I mean, you can't fight the machine though, right? So we just keep pushing the button until it works. And so here we are, broadcasting live also on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch this morning. So if you want to come out and join us in the chat rooms there, you're welcome to do so as well, to join the conversation. And today's just going to be a smorgasbord. It's going to be a free-for-all. We're going to talk about all different kinds of stuff, different stories. I want to talk to you a little bit about the perspective of due process in the United States as put forward by your local entertainment complex. I'm talking about television. I want to talk about that. I got a little bent on Friday, and I'm going to tell you about that story here sometime today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to hit all the highlights. The big convention went on this weekend, and there was some, there was some shade thrown. Somebody was throwing some serious shade out there as well. We're going to talk about different endorsements. Including, I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I can't remember if I mentioned this last week, but this came out on Thursday or Friday. Mayor Charlie Pierce has won the endorsement for governor. He's the second one. Mike Dunleavy had already got the endorsement back in January, but they're endorsing more than one. So Charlie Pierce now has the endorsement for governor from the Republican State Central Committee, which is the governing body of the Alaska Republican Party. So congratulations to Mayor Charlie Pierce for picking that one up this last week. So congratulations. Good stuff there. We're going to talk about the new PFD formula, which just came out of the thing. We're going to talk about what else? I got a bunch of stuff here. We're talking about the school bond issue and how, man, sometimes those on the left, they're just mean. I mean, I suppose we can all be mean from one quarter, but in this case, there was some super hateful comments that were thrown around by Zach Fields, which we're gonna talk about here as well. And then I'm going to open up the phone lines. I mean, I've actually already opened up the phone lines for folks to call in. And in fact, somebody called in before I even started the theme music of the show. They've been on hold for 6 minutes already. So I don't know who they are, but we're going to jump to them first, I guess, since we're going to take those calls and talk about all those things. And today is just going to be a mess. Let's just embrace it and jump in. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say across the state of Alaska on all these things. So we opening up the Pivotel call-in lines at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150 if you want to be part of it. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So let's, I don't know, are we taking bets on who the first caller is going to be? I'm thinking it's going to be Mark or Jeff or Randy. I don't know which one, but let's find out who it is. Let's see if we're right or wrong. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Buenos dias. This is Brady from Las Vegas.
Well, hello, Brady from Las Vegas. What's on your mind this morning?
I thought that you just had a gun show on Friday, but my buddy said you also have a show during the week.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I'd call in this morning. But... Go ahead.
Good. No, go ahead. Yeah, we do the show on Friday is strictly about firearms, but we do have a show the rest of the week. That is correct.
Well, I guess I'll do you a Monday morning question for you then, Michael. What is coronavirus in Latin? What does it stand for? What does it equal in Latin?
I don't know. I don't know what corona is in Latin. I don't know. You tell me.
It's king cobra venom. And did you watch the movie by Dr. Art that's been out? It's had over probably 40 or 50 million views right now, called Watch the Water.
No, I have not seen that yet.
Okay. This is basically a quick thing about what's happening. COVID-19, the bioweapon, was never a virus. It's partially snake venom that was put into the jab. And when they've looked up the genetic sequence now on these people that have supposedly had COVID-19, it's coming up to snake venom. Cobra and crate snake from China is almost a genetic match. So what we were dealing with, don't worry about the mask anymore. You're dealing with a synthetic bioweapon that's derived from venom, from snakes, and Kona snail toxin, the most lethal substances ever to be put into a jab. That's what your buddies in the global world order did to everybody. The new world order is trying to kill us off one by one with the bioweapon.
Okay, well, I hadn't heard this. I hadn't heard this theory, and I haven't seen this movie that you're talking about. But I guess I would have a since people were sick for a good long length of time before they started instituting the vaccine or the treatment. I don't see as how they could have been jabbing people with snake stuff ahead of time. And people were getting sick and dying ahead of time before the jab ever came out. So I don't know as how the timeline of what you're talking about makes much sense, Brady. But I mean, there's a lot of weird theories out there, and to me, most of them are just that, weird theories. But I mean, if what you're arguing is true, then what about all the people that got sick before the vaccine or the treatment was available? I can't factor that in. All right. Well, anyway, thank you for your call. Gets back to YouTube, gets banned the next day because some crazy caller theory. It is what it is. I'm not even going to go into that. I think that's nonsense, quite honestly. But I mean, I'll go watch this movie just to verify and make sure. But there's a lot of people, I think, who are reaching on things. Government is going to govern. That's what they do. And if they see an opportunity for overreach, they'll take it because it is the nature of government, and they will try to hold on to it because of it is the nature of government. To think that it is some behind-the-scenes planned whatever, I mean, this is the same people that brought you the DMV and the post office, okay? I think that they would have a hard time planning their way out of a paper bag. most of these times. It's, it's crazy. So, but anyway, I think this is people ascribing, these are the same people that are toasting their toast and holding it up and saying, look, I see a picture of Jesus in the toast. This must be holy toast. I think you're looking for things that aren't there, personally. But that's just me. I mean, that's just me. All right. What else do we got here in the discussions? Okay. So a couple of things on the endorsements. Do I have time? I have a little bit of time here. The endorsements came out. There was an endorsement on Thursday. The Alaska Republican Party endorsed Nick Begich's the third's run for state for the U.S. House seat, and it's the first formal endorsement by the party, which can endorse multiple candidates in the race. Now, they voted to endorse Begich on Thursday, which was the meeting. It was a meeting ahead of the party's convention in Fairbanks, which began Friday morning, which raised a little bit of ire from some of the other candidates, including Sarah Palin and Josh Revak and Tara Sweeney. But Begich was the only one who had applied and requested for the party's endorsement. He was the only candidate to have requested it. So he asked, and you don't ask, you don't get. You don't ask, you don't get. That's how it works, right? And so he asked for it, and he got it. Craig Campbell, the vice chair of the party, said it's not an exclusive. If other Republicans that are running would like to have the endorsement, they're encouraged to contact the party chair and make the request in writing. Now, some other folks started throwing bombs immediately because they didn't get it. Palin was quick to blast the party leadership, saying most of the delegates haven't even arrived in Fairbanks yet. Before news arrived that a backroom deal had already been struck for an endorsement from the state politicos. She said it was a slap in the face of convention delegates and a betrayal of Alaskans who believe in fair play. To which I would point out again that he asked for the endorsement. Nobody else did. Ergo, QED. I mean, it follows that. And instead, then she goes on to say later on, this predictable action of the party establishment proves that the old boys network is alive and well. I built on a reputation for going rogue against the establishment, but it's only because I have always represented the very best of Alaska, hardworking people who believe in God and country and who reject backroom deals that benefits a few. Palin is endorsed by Donald Trump, but will not seek an endorsement for the party, according to her campaign. So I guess I don't even understand what she didn't even want the endorsement, but now she slaps. It's a slap in the face that I didn't get the endorsement, even though I didn't seek it and didn't ask for it. I mean, there's some crazy stuff, just crazy, crazy stuff. And that's just a little bit of what went on. Oh, man, did they take some shots at each other over this whole deal, the whole weekend, the traded barbs at the convention? We're going to get into that in just a minute. It's going to be interesting. Let's put it, you know what, and I'll tell you one of the most, well, I'll tell you this on the other side. But there is a very, very interesting comment at the very end of the article that the ADN has up there about who all these candidates would pick as their number 2 choice. If they had to choose somebody else, who would it be? And it may raise the hair on the back of your neck just a little bit. Just a little bit. We're going to talk about that. We'll be back. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll continue. The phone lines are open. 907-433-3150. We'll play with whatever you want to play with. We'll be back with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like, America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. I mean, God love them all, but what? Snake venom in the... I mean, you know, I just... People are looking for stuff that's not there sometimes. It just makes me scratch my head. Like I said, some things that just aren't really there. Sarah insulted all of us delegates when she ran to the ADN and Alaska Public Media to badmouth the delegates in the process through which she could have applied. Yeah, that was my point. She complains that it's a good old boys club and then says, by the way, I didn't even want your endorsement anyway. Did you hear Mitch is throwing $2.2 million at Lisa's reelection campaign? Christopher, I think you might be behind the power curve. It's $7.4 million. That's what Mitch, his Senate leadership fund, is contributing towards Lisa. Is, they're going to do ad buys for Lisa. 7.4, not 2.2, $7.4 million. That's what's going on. Yeah, YouTube back so I can hear the background conversation. Hey, Gordon. Hey, Christopher. Thanks for coming on YouTube as well. Why would you announce the endorsement prior to the convention? I don't know, because he applied for it prior to the convention. That would be my guess. I feel like watching the party slowly devolve into these social extremes and people losing their minds over insane conspiracies. That this is how a sane person felt in the ancient times, right before the collapse of Rome. I wouldn't disagree with you, Anthony. I mean, again, people are looking for. I know everybody always looks for a reason, right? There's got to be some reason. It's like some tragic event happens and they got to be, but why? Why? You can't understand evil or insanity, right? If you could understand it, then you could be it. That's how I always looked at it. I can never understand the methodology or the motivations to some crazy would-be shooter. But, I just take that with a grain of salt, and I understood, that's because they're either evil or insane. David responds to the question of why would you even announce the endorsement prior to convention? He said, because the SCC held a scheduled meeting prior to the conventions and Nick's application was on the agenda. There you go. That's the thing. It's getting even more crazy, but the truth will eventually come out. The truth will eventually come out. That's the thing. The truth will eventually come out, and it may be even crazier than we all expected, or it may be mundane. We don't know. That's the problem. That's the problem. And we can work ourselves up to a frenzy over every different variant of every different idea that could possibly happen, but sometimes it's just, sometimes it is just simple. Sometimes it's just simple. And sometimes it's just overreach. That's just all it is. All right. So, you don't need to understand the ideology of a mass shooter. You just need to be able to return ineffectual fire. That's true. All right. So we're going to dive back into this here. We're about 45 seconds out from rejoining the radio. We're going to get down into what happened at the state convention for the GOP, some of the interesting components of that, and we'll see where it goes from there. Please like and share this video, like and follow the show page, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. I forgot. Now we're back on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube as well to make it all worthwhile. You guys ready to do this? Let's jump back into it. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, Free Thinking Radio. Again, open line, open forum today. We got some things to talk about, and we're just gonna go hog wild here in just a minute. I think we got some phone calls too. Okay, my friends, you ready to dive into this? Let's continue our discussions now. We were just talking about the Republican State Committee meeting up in Fairbanks starting on Friday. Went through part of the weekend there, and some of the slings and arrows that got thrown back and forth by a variety of the candidates that were running for the U.S. congressional seat. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but we do have one line on hold, and we're doing an open line, open forum thing today, so we're kind of taking them as they come. I want to remind people that the views expressed by the callers are not necessarily those of the host. I mean, maybe that'll keep YouTube from killing us, but I don't know at this point. All right, let's go over here to see what the phone lines say. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. This is Ray at North Pole.
Good morning, Ray.
You got an echo on your phone.
I think you have an echo on your phone, but I don't. But go ahead, Ray. Let's try it again. You want to talk through it, or you want to call me back?
I think Palin was looking in the mirror when she was talking about betraying Alaskans, and Murkowski needs that $15-20 million to pay off political bribes.
Yeah, that's you're talking about
the cost of bribing local politicians has gone up.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is going to be the most expensive race I think that we've probably seen in this state, between the $5 million that Murkowski has in her war chest and the other, $7 million now from Mitch McConnell, and another couple million from the Scott Kendall group and everything. I mean, they'll be probably $15 or $20 million just on her side of the race, let alone everybody else at this point.
Well, if they send all that money to Alaskans, that'll help us out a little bit. Won't change our vote any.
It definitely will probably help the media industry. They'll get their money's worth for sure, and that will trickle down into the economy. But I don't know if that's going to help overall. I mean, it's not like they're going to contribute it straight to your bank account.
The media is so damn corrupt. Okay, that's all I got. Bye.
All right. Hey, thanks, Ray. I appreciate you sounding off this morning. That leaves all four lines open. If you would like to sound off this morning and be part of it, 907-433-3150, the Pivotel call-in line, powered by our friends at Pivotel and Satellite West. All right, let's go back over to the discussion here on the GOP meeting that took place in Fairbanks. It was a lively debate Saturday morning, according to the ADN. It was a 45-minute breakfast forum that featured Nick Begich, former Governor Sarah Palin, Senator Josh Revak, former Senator John Coghill, and Native leader Tara Sweeney. And they got going, and the jab started pretty early. Begich's opponents, who all entered the race after Dong Young's death, picked on Begich for his decision to challenge a sitting congressman while he was still alive. How dare you do that to our senior state? I mean, to which I said, my God, people, you had to wait for him to die to stand up for what you believed in? Is that what you had to do? I mean, that was the what? I mean, that was the thing? Oh, you're still alive. And yeah, exactly. This is what. Sometimes you got to do it. The only way you were going to get Don Young out of Congress was feet first. That was how it was. I've been saying that for years, that he was not a man to step aside. You had to challenge him. And it's not disloyal to challenge somebody when you believe you can do a better job. That's not disloyalty, but that was the first thing. Oh, man, I can't believe he just, rah. They also questioned his Republican credentials, noting that he'd previously acknowledged voting for two Democrats. He voted for his uncle, and he voted, was it Tom or Mark? I don't know which one. I think he claimed, I'm just looking to see, because I think he voted for Mark. But he also voted for Berkowitz for mayor in 2015. So, okay, he did that. But he has been a Republican from a very young age. He's been a registered Republican and worked inside the party apparatus. He worked for Don Young. I mean, he was Don Young's campaign manager last go around. So, I mean, it's not like this is anyway. I guess he's just as Republican as pretty much everybody else that's going on inside there. What were some of the other comments? Begich is really kind of at the center, and I think they're all taking shots at Begich because they understand that outside of the name recognition of Palin, he's probably the front runner. Begich was the only candidate to have requested the state Republican Party's endorsement by Friday morning. A vote by the Party Central Committee was not exclusive. We said this earlier. There was a motion to suspend the party rules in order to endorse the other four Republican candidates who spoke at the forum. That motion failed. The motion was made by Jerry Ward, who works for Palin's campaign. He's a former state lawmaker. He made that motion several hours after the forum concluded. Opponents have complained that about the endorsement through the convention, including a Saturday forum, saying they were caught by surprise. I think it's wrong that we learned about an endorsement being handed out before people on the stage had an opportunity to speak to the delegates, said Tara Sweeney. Well, but again, he had – this is what kills me. He submitted and asked for – he requested it. He filled out the paperwork. He did the work. He did what he was supposed to do, right? I would like your endorsement. Let me send you a letter. Can I have your endorsement? Wow. Begich shall work to position himself as the convention darling. He said, people in this room are the people doing the work. You are not a good old boys club, he said. That was, of course, referring to Palin's jab about the good old boys club being in full swing. Opponents attacked Begich over his voting record, his membership in a prominent Democratic family. I mean, you can't pick your family, am I right? But at a 2016 campaign forum where he was running for Anchorage Assembly, he acknowledged he'd voted for two Democrats in his life, his uncle and Ethan Berkowitz. Now, I don't know which uncle, Tom or Mark, but one of them. And then he was questioned by Josh Revak, who said, I think that it's really interesting that you said on the radio that you voted for Berkowitz, said Revak. I've always been a Republican. I'm sorry. I had a hard time saying that with a straight face. Josh Revak, I've always been a Republican. Oh, Josh. Oh, whew. Yeah, you've always been a Republican, buddy. You have always been a Republican. Uh-huh. You keep using that word. It doesn't mean what I think it thinks. Oh, man. Oh. Anyway, Josh Revak, that was his. If that was your mic drop moment, Josh, you got some work to do. That's all I'm saying. It's. Let's see. The most spirited part of the forum came in response to a question from moderator Campbell, who was also a former lieutenant governor. The question was about banning transgender women's participation in women's sports. Begich got a standing ovation for his blunt response that said men are men and women are women. Tara Sweeney who had answered the question before Begich, had tried to make a more nuanced approach that got her booed severely by the crowd. I think this is a loaded question, one that deserves deliberation. We need to remember that these individuals who are struggling with sexual identity and gender identity are human beings, and we should not villainize them. I don't think anybody was trying to villainize anybody. I think it was a standard question, Tara. That's just me. Me. Let's see, what else? She said, Sweeney also said, I'm a Ted Stevens Republican, not a Ted Nugent Republican, which was, of course, a direct slap at Palin, who was trying to get the Nuge up here for a meet and greet or something. Anyway, there was a lot of stuff. But here was you want to know what the most surprising and disappointing part of this whole thing was? This was picked up at the very end of the article. When asked who they would rank second on their ballot, when they asked all the people who were there who they would rank as their second choice on the ballot in a ranked choice voting scenario, Palin, Sweeney, Revak, and Begich all named John Coghill as the candidate they would rank second on their ballot. Oh, man. Coghill argued for unity among the Republicans in the race in the state's first election under ranked choice voting. Any one of those is a good servant. That's why I said this is a team effort, he said after the forum. I'm sorry for some of the shots that happened, but they're trying to differentiate themselves. But John Coghill was ranked as the number 2 for all of those people. I don't know. Would he make a better congressman than he did a state senator? Are any of those Republicans veterans? Josh Revak's a veteran. Josh Revak. But yep, everybody voted. Coghill was their Coghill is their choice. Oh man. I mean, that's a hard no for me for sure. That's a hard no for me. Coghill didn't even rank in the top 4 as far as I'm concerned. I would pick Revak before I would pick Coghill at this point. David in the chat room attended. He said, I almost laughed out loud when Sarah said, I would pick either of these two, gesturing at Coghill and Revak, because I have the clarity to know who's in this for the right reasons. Okay. Is that out of the mouth speaks the heart? I mean, pot, kettle, black, what? Anyway, so this must have been just a total poo parade to watch this thing unfold. I'm glad I didn't waste my weekend on something like that. That's all I could say right now. I was much better off helping my daughter do her taxes than anything else. It's like the worst thing ever. All right, we got more coming up. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Don't forget, you can always come out and join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Michael Duke Show if you'd like to participate on the program and do some chatting in the room with all the other listeners we got out there right now. I don't know, probably 50 folks, 60, 65 folks right now. Come on out and join us. We're going to be back with more and more of your phone calls right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
You know what the bad news is on this? Sandy just said, maybe they picked Coghill because he had the least chance in reality. The problem is with ranked choice voting is that the person who normally gets the most number 2s has a statistically pretty large chance of winning. So if everybody else is pointing at Coghill and saying, oh, yeah, he'd make a great number 2. I mean, then, yeah, I mean, there's a pretty good chance of that being that. Anyway, Karen says this entire voting process is going to screw us. This has to be stopped. It can't be stopped at this point, Karen. I think we're going to have to live through one cycle of this as it is. We're going to have to live through one cycle of this ranked choice voting. My prediction is that people get so upset and it I think that ranked choice voting and ballot measure number 2 may be repealed next year. Now, whether the legislature does it or whether enough people get up in arms about it is a question. Or at least maybe it won't be repealed, but there will be an attempt to repeal it. Let me just put it that way. Because people are going to be angry at this whole thing. Jason on YouTube says, hearing that from these candidates has me rethinking my choice. What does that mean, Jason? You thinking of a choice to somebody else? What are you thinking? We all got to hold our nose and rank the red. It's the only way we can hold off the Democrats. It takes 2 years to repeal. Says, I know it takes 2 years to repeal, Michael. I know that. But a referendum doesn't. If you could gather enough. Then you still have to hit the thing. It's going to be 2 years. Doesn't matter. You're right. It's still going to be 2 years. But the legislature can't modify a citizens' initiative for 2 years for sure. Bush data is too expensive to watch that lineup. They shouldn't have worried about the number 2. Strong coffee in the morning is a more dependable outcome. Okay. You think the legislature, when it gains so many Democrats, will want this repealed? The legislature, do they even do anything except throw money down rat holes? Okay. Typical Alaska, a poo parade for everything. It's you're not wrong. You're not wrong. There is no good second choice on a ranked choice ballot. Oh, I think that there is. I mean, I think I've got plenty of choices. I mean, there's a good libertarian candidate in there. There's a couple of decent Republican candidates. I think that there's at least enough, candidates in there to rank 3 or 4. But it was stated that ballot measure 2 will be either repealed by legislation or by resolution, said Gabriel. Who stated that? Coghill is an absolute no for me, said Jason. And if there's a choice for 2, and if that is their choice for 2, maybe their thought process is messed up. I mean, yeah. I find it. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's a hard no. I agree with Greg earlier, who said it was a hard no for him. I agree. It's a hard no for all the way around for me on Coghill. All right. Let me see if I missed anything else out here. Scrolling. I'm going backwards here. REVAC recently voted in committee to add a requirements for all boaters in Alaska to be required to have a license. That's very Republican of him. I mean, this is the same Josh Revac that said, well, I mean, what if the permanent fund dividend went to $10,000 a piece? We can't give that to people. Excuse me? Pardon? What? Elon Musk bought Twitter? Did he really? Oh, let me drudge this. Real quick. Twitter stock jumps on reports it's ready to accept Musk bid developing. Wow. Okay. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on that. Be watching that. Okay. Let's see what else happens. Well, it just said that they look like they're accepting the offer. That's not according to the thing. It's not closed yet, but we'll keep watching it. Sweeney isn't a biologist, so she doesn't agree that men are men and women are women. She says we need to take their feelings into consideration. Yeah. I got the go. I got it. All right, we're 25 seconds out here. Final segment of the show for this hour. If you guys like to join us, feel free to give us a call. 907-433-3150, The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share on Facebook. Like and follow. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. Let's go. All right, welcome back. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Just talking with the crowd here about, what their thoughts are on the reaction from the state GOP here and all the candidates that are up there. I think universally people kind of they gasped a little bit in the chat room when it was announced that all of the candidates said John Coghill would be my second choice. I think that's a problem. I think that's a major problem and maybe a major flaw in most of these candidates' philosophy, I guess, when it's all said and done. It's a little frustrating, quite honestly, to see that. John has done a lot of damage in the state. Specifically, I'm talking about over the state budgets and the PFDs specifically. And I just don't think that he is the right guy for the job. That's my personal take. John's a nice guy. I think he believes what he's doing is right, but I believe what he's doing is actually wrong. Like I said, I've had conversations with John about this over the years, and I think that he's got misguided beneficence. You know what I mean? He's very benevolent, but he's benevolent with your money, and he's very compassionate, but he's compassionate with your money. And I think that overall is part of the problem. When government picks the winners and losers like that, I think it's part of the problem. All right. What else we got here for stories on the day? Oh, this story. Oh, man. Can you wait for this? I could not wait for this, I guess is what I meant to say. There's a story in the ADN. Remember we were talking about the school bond packages in Anchorage and how, they couldn't figure out, how did these fail? How did these fail? I don't understand. Well, part of the story about maybe why they failed might have to do with some of the contention around the Inlet View Elementary School, which sits over there in the South Addition. And there's been a contentious battle. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole story. Suffice it to say that this is one of the most beloved schools in the district. There's a waiting list for people who want to get their kids in there. The teachers there stay for years. It's a whole deal. But the building's got some problems, right? It's at the end of its life. And there's been some resistance from the community in how they want to fix it, including this new proposed bill that they want to do. And some of the neighbors are upset about it. After the new design became public, 100 people signed a letter asking the district to consider their concerns, which I would think would, make sense. Since then, a core group of neighbors have done most of the campaigning to fight the plan to relocate the building from the north edge of the property to the south. They cited concerns about groundwater, traffic patterns, even whether the playground would be in the shade for much of the year. and they've got a whole bunch of things. And a group came together called Friends of Inlet View Elementary School, and they wanted to make sure that this is all said and done. I'm going to long and short you the whole story here, but here's the long and the short of it is they developed quite a following. They went to work on it. They did it. Now, there was some bitter, messages left back and forth, and people, there's a little anxiety. There's a little hatred going on between two different groups. Some have said that some of the people in there are NIMBYs, not in my backyards, who want to stop the rebuild because it would put the new school much closer to their homes, or it would change their views or do whatever. But here is the kicker of this whole story. This is just, it gives you an idea of how your elected officials feel about you. Deborah and Martin Hansen are one of the people who started this group that I was just telling you about, the Friends of the Inlet View Elementary School, who have been fighting back against this. And after the school bond's defeat became obvious, Martin Hansen received a text message from Zach Fields, his elected representative in the Alaska legislature. Here's what the text message said. There is a special place in hell for people that oppose schools that kids in the neighborhood need. We will keep Inlet View open despite your reprehensible attempts to shut the school down. It then ends with Fields telling Hansen to, quote, I strongly encourage you to move out of South Addition. This neighborhood supports schools, and if you don't, then you should leave now. What? Excuse me, buddy? You got a good dentist? Because we're about to have a dust-up. There's a special place in hell for people that oppose cool. This is, I can't even, what? I strongly encourage you to move out of South Addition. If you don't support the schools, you should leave now. Wow. Oh, you better not come up and meet me face to face, buddy. We're going to have a problem. A problem. Let's go back to the phones here. We can come back to this story, but I was just so shocked by that. It just shows you. You don't agree with me? We're going to threaten you. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mike. This is Mark from Fairbanks.
Good morning, Mark. What's on your mind?
Well, a couple of points in brief. The priests of the state are going to be more militant. Those are your educrats. Number one. Number two, as a campaign coordinator for Governor Hickel, myself, this was exactly why Governor Hickel wouldn't support Coghill's father as governor, because they're totally twisted. They've really turned their back on Alaskans. And I'd encourage everybody to read the Swedish medical report released from Swedish Lund University on what is actually the biowarfare shot under the cloak of COVID. And that's been released in the Journal of Molecular Biology.
Okay.
So those are references, and I hope they help your listeners. Let's all rally behind Sarah Palin and Chewbacca. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your thoughts this morning. Let's continue over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. This is Ron from North Pole.
Hello, my friend. Today? I'm doing good. You?
I'm well, thank you. I tried to restrain myself, but I just couldn't. Can you say authoritarian do-gooder?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
Because that is the perfect descriptor for Mr. Coghill.
Right.
And I would simply state that while I'm not the world's greatest mathematician, I can count as high as 91.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You know.
I'll leave it at that, sir.
Well,
Have
I
a
mean,
good day.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ron. I mean, that's the problem. I remember having a conversation with John Coghill back in 1999 when they made the first run at the permanent fund and they were trying to change it to POMV then. And 83% of the people voted against that. And I later on asked him, I said, John, why are you fighting? I mean, why would you do this? And he said, well, you don't understand. I got people coming into my office every day and the stories they're telling me, it's so, I mean, I've got to help them. I've got to support them. It's my Christian duty to help and support them. And I'm like, well, yeah, but with your money, not with everybody else's. Right? I mean, because somebody comes in and tells you a story or a sob story or, it describes to you a definite need doesn't mean that you just need the government to come in and fix everything. And that's the problem. Authoritarian benevolence. That's exactly what it's all about. And also, that's the same problem that we have here with Zach Fields. Authoritarian benevolence. We will keep Inlet View open despite your reprehensible attempts to shut the school down. They just didn't want they just wanted to have input on the school that was being built in their community because they wanted to have input and the state had not given them input. Is that what what? I mean, what? I strongly encourage you to move out of South Anchorage. This neighborhood supports schools, and if you don't, then you should leave now. Well, oh man, I would not want to be at the neighborhood picnic with this. I couldn't believe it, said Hanson, a retired National Park Service employee who now moonlights as a cross-country ski coach and kindergarten teaching aide. He goes, it's a personal threat. Someone is telling me I need to leave. Yeah, I mean, Fields did say he texted a few days later to apologize for his choice words. But he maintains that he's just a passionate supporter of the school. What? Wow. I mean, just freaking wow. But don't worry, he apologized, so it's all okay now. He apologized, so everything's forgiven, right? Or, whatever. Just there's a special place in hell for people like you. And you better move out of town now. Because we don't like the color of your skin. I mean, we don't like the way you think about schools. Just think about that threat for a minute in a different light. I mean... Crazy. All right. Out of time for this hour. We got more coming up. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty base, free thinking radio. It's so offensive to me that we would even be questioning having a functioning building for students, said Fields. What? I don't think that was that's the thing. I don't think that's what they're looking for. I don't think they're trying to say we don't want a new building. I think what they're saying is we would just like to have a little input on what's going on. This group launched a volley of letters to the editors and attended every public meeting about the project they could. They said they were upset that they hadn't been consulted and that no one in the district seemed to be listening to their concerns over the new design. It was not a respectful dialogue, and that's something I think this neighborhood values. I mean, that's the problem. Again, they cited concerns about groundwater, traffic patterns, and even whether the playground would be in the shade much of the year as a reason to halt the project. I mean, the tagline for this group, Friends of the Inlet View Elementary School, is pro-public schools, pro-public process. They just wanted to be involved. But no. It's so offensive that they would question about having functioning buildings for students. What? Oh, man. Wow. Yeah, but, to basically say there's a special place in hell for people like you. Why do you hate children? Why do you? I just suggest you move out of town now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kenneth says, it'd be a shame if Mr. Fields' house burned down. Maybe he should consider leaving. I mean, that's right. This is the same guy that attacked Kelly Shibaka for being religious. He is just a despicable human being. I mean, he really is. But he's the leg wrestling buddy champion with Kelly Merrick, too. Kelly Merrick and Rasmussen and all those folks. These are the folks that hang together. We don't take kindly to your types around here. That's right. Oh, it's so just discouraging. All right. We got more coming up in hour 2. Let's see what Greg says. It seems we have a group competing to see who can make themselves look the most stupid. But it's not really much of a competition at this point, is it? I mean, that was some pretty dumb stuff right there. That was some right flat out pretty dumb stuff. My kids went to the Inlet View. The custodian smoked all day in his room in the 90s. Well, that was the 90s, man. I mean, what do you expect? I still remember the 90s. The FNSB just banned the students from working on their own private vehicles in shop classes, including snow machines and lawnmowers. Well, because, of course, you shouldn't be able to benefit from what they're trying to teach you, right? I mean, that shouldn't be. I mean, right? My mortgage company, says Paul, just sent me a letter saying my mortgage payment is going up $134 this year. Why do you think that is? Bonds and mill rate increases. Fields can suck it. Oh, man. John Coghill read a portion of the Bible where children's PFD should be taken for government expenditure. I don't know what that means, Michael. I don't know what that means. Fields doesn't walk through the Capitol, he slithers. It's no longer a neighborhood school. Most children arrive from South Anchorage to attend school, says David. Sounds like we need late 19th century French politics to make a comeback. I would not look forward to that. I'm sorry, Bullet. I would not look forward to that. Coghill won't be in the top 4. Santa Claus will get more votes in the primary. We only vote for one, so they all told you vote for me or throw your vote away is what they were saying. We only have to vote for one of them in the primary. If 2 make it through, then we'll worry about ranking them later. And you're 100% true on that as well. And I see that Karen put, let me see, there was another link in here. What are you linking here, Carol? What am I looking at? I hate it when I can't find what's going on. Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Thank you for that. Thank you, Carol. I forgot about that. I'm so glad you posted that. FNSB has also just canceled firefighter and EMT classes for students. Yeah, well, we'll have to see what goes on for that. All right, so thank you, Carol, for that. That I had to go into the Wayback Machine for that. Let's go down here. LMAO, it's your commentary this morning. Thank you. I'm glad I could entertain. The whole point of this show is to educate, enlighten, and entertain, all 3. So if you're ready to continue it, we're going to jump into it now with hour 2. And then I'm going to take a strange off-ramp at some point. I'm going to talk a little bit about the entertainment industry. Specifically, the crime. The and the you know what I mean, true crime. All right, you ready? Let's just jump onto it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Hour 2 is right now.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That's just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Streaming live around the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or translator. Thank you for coming in here and joining us. It is hour 2 of the Michael Duke Show, Monday edition. Monday. Are you guys ready to rock and roll and talk about all the things that you want to talk about? We're open lining, open forming it. Open lining, that's not really a word. It's open line, open forum today. I've got some more headlines to dive into and talk about. No, we're not going to talk about the Johnny Depp trial. I mean, I just don't care. I could not care less about that or anything else. I do care about what goes on in this state, though. And for those of you who just joined us here, you're not members of the 6 o'clock club. Why not? You could be. All you got to do is show up before 7, and you're official members of the 6 o'clock club. But, you know, if you're just joining us now, then you missed the discussion that we were just having about Zach Fields and some of the other stuff that was going on in politics. And somebody reminded me of something that I don't know how it slipped through, but we didn't get a chance to really talk about this. But there was an article that Suzanne Downing wrote, must read. It was just talking about the death of Don Young. It was not a bad article. It was not, I mean, it just was kind of factual and here's what was going on and everything else. And I'm reminded about how we in this state are blessed with having some great statesmen, right? I mean, great statesmen. I mean, we were just talking about Zach Fields and his text message to one of his own constituents where he said, there's a special place in hell for people that oppose schools that kids in neighborhoods need. We'll keep Inlet View open despite your reprehensible attempts to shut it down. And I strongly encourage you to move out of South Anchorage. This neighborhood supports schools, and if you don't, then you should leave now. Okay? I mean, he's a statesman, obviously, but not as much as a statesman as Josh Revak, who after this story from Suzanne Downing posted on Easter Sunday, no less. Suzanne, you are the biggest piece of human waste on the planet. Just wanted you to know that. What? Okay. I mean, we've got some statesmen. Yeah, that's right, statesmen. Anyway, you just got to wonder about people. You got to wonder about people. And then, of course, later on, he posted a non-apology. Suzanne, I was very sad and angry yesterday. I love Don Young and would have taken a bullet for him. When the story broke before the family was notified, what I was told, I took that very personally. I was looking for someone to be mad at, and you had been less than favorable to him in the recent past. Still, I shouldn't have said what I said. Okay, so you're assuming that Dong Yen's family hadn't been notified, and that, wow, I mean, I loved him. Because he told me that he wanted me to replace him. And statesman. That's exactly right. Statesman right there. All right, but let's get into something, I guess, more substantive. Let's talk a little bit about the new formula for the permanent fund dividend that is going to be voted on this week in the Senate. The Senate Finance Committee has put forward a bill voted without dissent to advance a new payment formula to the full Senate. Senator Peter Machicki said the vote could take place as soon as this week. He said it's very important, depending on any amendments that happen in that bill, that this is the cornerstone of a fiscal plan. This is all, by the way, you can read all this in the ADN. Now, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen with the bill. Again, it could be amended on the floor of the Senate. It still has to go to the House. Whether the governor signs off on it and it becomes law is something totally new, but it is what it is. The legislature voted in 2018 to set up it was through SB 26 to set up the POMV, where they would take a new formula and it would take that transfer, that reoccurring transfer from the permanent fund to the state treasury, and it would put half for the dividends and half for government spending. Dunleavy, of course, has made his proposal to put a permanent constitutional 50-50 formula in, and has published a budget projections that show that it was sustainable. Now, folks on the Finance Committee were skeptical that high oil prices will remain for longer than a year and believe that the cost of services could rise faster than what's projected by the governor's budget. As a result, the Finance Committee's proposal would reduce payments in subsequent years to 25% of the transfer. So, in this first year, a 2022 dividend payment would be about $2,600. That's at the 50-50 amount. And then in subsequent years, it would be 75-25, with 75% going to government and 25% going to the permanent fund dividend. And then legislators would have to agree on tax and revenue worth at least $800 million per year before the end of 2026. And then the 50-50 would resume in 2027. Now, if not, the 75-25 split would continue. Now, here's the problem. These are all statutory changes. None of this matters, right? I mean, this is Drew Carrington again. This is whose line is it anyway? Where the rules are made up and the points don't count. That's exactly what we're at here. We are exactly at that point where it doesn't matter what they say. Okay, well, we'll do this. It'll be a 50-50 formula, and we'll find $800 million in revenue. But they don't have to follow it. I mean, they would not. They don't have to follow anything. It's an unusual move, says the paper. Senators are advancing the formula change bill without a guarantee that it has enough support to pass. Because the problem is that they've got to get something out there, and they don't have enough support to pass it on their own. So the whole thing could hit the floor and then not have enough support to pass it in the Senate, and that means that it could change substantially. They're talking about, again, amending it. One alternative discussed by Senate Minority Leader Tom Begich would gradually step up dividends from 75-25 to 50-50 over multiple years. Begich and other lawmakers also proposed reducing the amount of new revenue needed to trigger the 50-50 formula. But again, none of this matters because it's all based on statutory law. Again, skeptical lawmakers have advocated for a constitutionally guaranteed dividend because lawmakers could ignore a changed formula just as they have ignored the existing formula. Last year, a legislative working group said a formula change should be accompanied by other pieces of legislation, like a tightened spending cap and new revenue. I mean, this was the fiscal policy working group. Senator David Wilson said he's skeptical of a proposal that doesn't include those other pieces. I mean, he's actually talking about the fiscal policy working group. Non-binding intent language within the formula bill says that it's envisioned as a first step towards a complete plan. Except we all know, I mean, Bert Stedman has been recorded on the floor saying that intent language doesn't matter at all. Non-binding resolutions and all that intent language doesn't matter a whit. They don't care. They don't care. Previous dividend votes in the Senate have taken place with razor-thin margins, and the same is expected when lawmakers debate the formula change. Bachicki is quoted as saying it's going to be an exciting day on the floor. Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, it'll be exciting because, you know, I'm sure I know where you'll be voting on that. But this is the best we could get out of the Senate. Again, this is the Senate Finance Committee that was supposedly working towards the will of the majority caucus in the Senate. If this is the will of the majority caucus in the, I don't think it is. Remember, the Senate majority hasn't even met once. I mean, maybe it's happened since last week, but they haven't met once this year. So what good is the majority caucus doing for us right now? This is insane. We continue to prioritize the spend on the government spend over the private sector day in and day out, week after week, month after month. That's what we are facing right now. 75-25. And I guarantee you, if this winning, let's just hypothetically say this gets passed or approved or whatever, we get to the 75-25, there's no way they're going to be able to try and find $800 in new revenue. So it'll remain 75-25. And I guarantee you that in 4 or 5 years, that 25, we just can't afford that. Unless you want us to institute new taxes to pay for it. So we'll have to take it all. And then 5 years after that, well, we just don't have enough revenue, so now we're going to have to tax you. This is where it's going, folks. Just look at the progression since the permanent fund was instituted. Look at the progression of what the government spend has done and everything else. And you got people like this saying, we just couldn't possibly cut the size and scope of government. We couldn't possibly live within our means. We couldn't possibly pay the permanent fund, even though that's obvious what the framers meant it to be. It was meant to be first call on everything else. It was meant to be a governor and a restriction on government spending. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. Because these people, they know better than you. They know better than you. And you should just, be good little children and go off into the corner and let the adults and grown-ups in the room speak. Because that's what's going to happen. All right. 433-3150, 433-3150. The Michael Duke Show continues. We got more coming up. We'll take your calls on the Pivotel call-in line in just a moment if you'd like to call in and be part of it. Otherwise, I'm going to be talking about true crime, the entertainment industry, and the brainwashing of American society. Yep, I'm changing gears a little bit because I got a little burned up about something on Friday. We'll talk about that. Back with more of the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Our light, our guide, and our trusted friend. Michael Duke Show.
And no, I don't mean the Johnny Depp trial. All right. You need a segment on this. Get your own radio show, Harold. Do what you want. You don't like what you hear? Feel free to spin the dial. Or get your own radio show. You can talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. All right, let's go over here to the phones and see who's calling here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Sean the Nilchik. You helped me out about 8 months ago when I called you up on a legislation bill that Senator Shower can pass, and they passed the Senate Resolution 3.
Okay.
So thanks on that. Hey, I'm down
hold on, Sean. Hold on. We're still in the commercial break, and I want people to hear what you have to say. So be patient with me and hang out. We'll be right back to you. You'll be number one in the queue. So don't go anywhere. Most of you are lost and confused because Harold knows better than any of us how we should run our lives. Absolutely, Harold. We should just shut down and sit down and shut up because, you've got a handle on this. You've got a handle on this. You know it. Just the audacity. Okay. Oh, exactly what they were doing, and they won't stop until they take it all and tax us on top of that. That's pretty much the problem. Government is growing because of the people elected. Sound off and vote, says Charlie. Yep. Yepper. The crony capitalist Republican Party legislators answer to the Rasmussen Foundation and GCI. All right. Let's see. Be grateful that we have statesmen and visionaries ruling, sarcasm off. Be grateful. Be grateful. What else we got here? I got a resolution drafted to bring before my district committee. If passed, we will censure and deny any aid to Click Bishop for violating party values and goals. Oof. I like that idea. David. Kevin McCabe says the people need to vote. The dividend formula needs to be in the Constitution. I mean, which again leads us to the question of, will a constitutional convention do what needs to be done? Don't know. If Dunleavy selects Machicki, that would fit with his other selections over the years. Are you suggesting that Dunleavy is going to appoint Machicki to his lieutenant governors? Machicki is in Dunleavy's face to select him for lieutenant governor. He knows that Tuckerman's going to take him out. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's possible. I think that Tuckerman definitely is probably going to take him out. But 7 years ago, Revac was a community organizer in Minnesota. Oh, man. Let's see. Just scrolling through here. All the different comments. Let's talk about the idol of the love of money. And what was the House government control leading the state towards a cliff, mass invasion? Look around. Here's a field of unsuspecting villagers shot. I mean, I don't see it as a mass invasion, but I know some people do. The only reason Dunleavy could have for not picking a running mate all this time is that it's a sitting legislator and he has to wait until the session is over. That's pretty much been my consideration this whole time, is that he's waiting to pick one. Now, whether it's von Imhoff or Machicki or somebody else, I don't know. But that was it. If we were in the majority in the House, the PFD would not be a question right now. We're not in the majority, in my opinion, because of FACL tactics. FACL, which we've talked a little bit about, but not enough. Somebody actually sent me some good information on that. Maybe we should talk about that here in the near future. All right, we're going to jump into this here. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like it, share, like it, follow. All right, welcome back to the program. We're continuing now. I got some things I want to kind of run off at the mouth about, but before we get to that, we're going to jump over to the Pivotel call-in lines. Sean is calling in from Ninilchik. Let's go over there and see what he has to say. Thanks for holding, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, boss. 2 months ago, you helped me out try to pass a Senate resolution so that we could stop the nonprofits from sending all the money out of the state. Mike Shower did a great job with that, and that really helps. Next one I'm going to do down here is so I can trade firewood for fish or fish for firewood, like you're saying with the PFD, because they made it so I can't trade any commodities. I could die up here. Next thing, Josh Reback, trash. Let's all vote for Kelly. Get Murkowski out of here. Vegas, if he's going to do the right thing, let's help him. If he's not, let's hold him accountable in about a year from now.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your assistance.
Well, I appreciate that, Sean. I agree. I mean, I think that you've pretty much hit the nail on the head. We need to get back to, doing what we do best and being able to live, live free in our own state here, being able to live and work and, without the governmental interference that we seem to be getting at every level. Every time they add one more new rule and reg, they add another body to enforce it, and it just continues to build up on the cost and size and scope of government, and we need to do it.
Can I tell you one thing you can laugh at?
Yeah, go ahead.
Down here on the Kenai, if you buy firewood from any of the stores, Home Depot, that kind of stuff, it comes from Washington, and it comes in 0.75 cubic bags, and they make it so you can't buy firewood around here from anybody trying to send it around here because they're calling it forestry wood. Everybody needs to take a look at what they're doing.
Yeah, no.
Have a great day.
I appreciate it. I thank you for bringing us that up to our attention on that. Appreciate you calling in, Sean. Thanks very much. 433-3150, 433-3150, if you would like to sound off and join us this morning here on the Pivotel call-in line. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so let me change gears completely. Okay, I'm going to change gears completely for you on this. This is kind of and this is not planned necessarily. I don't have anything written down or anything, but I want to talk a bit about this because I think it's important. I came home from work on Friday, and one of my wife's favorite things to do in an afternoon is to sit down and watch an episode or two. She's doing some knitting or working on some projects or something, and she's got Law and Order up on the TV. Right now, Law and Order, world famous. Don't everybody knows what's going on with it and everything. But so I walk into the room and I get myself all dressed down and in my comfies, and I come back downstairs and I sit down on the couch and I'm just watching the end of the episode with her or whatever it was, because I don't particularly care one way or the other whether I watch Law and Order or not. But I'm watching this show now. Granted, well, I guess not granted, but this was a show that was probably easily 10 or 15 years old, because she's watching the older episodes. And it really became apparent to me how the elites in this country are continually using things like modern media, like, for example, Law and Order, to brainwash people into not understanding their own rights and the limitations that are on law enforcement, limitations that are there to protect us. And I watched this episode, and my wife finally said, "Here, look, you just watch what you want to watch." She turned it off. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She goes, because I was commenting, because I was watching on the show what was going on. Things like interviewing a 15 or 16-year-old girl without her parents present. Telling school administrators to lock her in a room and don't give her access to a phone. Putting people, trying to interview people on the spot instead of basically reading the Miranda rights, or even when they say we'd like to have counsel, This is, I mean, it is just crazy. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking more and more about what's going on. And there was another episode where where a police officer shows up and there was a kid and they're like, we want to come in. And the kid's like, no, my dad wouldn't like that. And they force their way into the house. And I'm watching this whole thing and I'm just thinking, people just think this is okay. People think that it's okay for the police to do all these things. And it's not. And we're not. I mean, if you haven't told every one of your children that nobody comes into your house, police officers or not, unless they present you with a bona fide search warrant, then you're raising your kids wrong. What have you got to hide? What have you got to, you wouldn't need a lawyer if you didn't have something to hide, except for, and this is the bright spot of this whole deal. True crime has become such a huge, huge niche interest, right? True crime podcasts, true crime television shows, and documentaries and everything else. And you know what they say? You know what you see? You see in those things, you see the fact that time and time and time again, in many of these cases, you see police cutting corners, taking shortcuts, violating people's rights. You see, people who chose a suspect and, ignored all the other evidence because this was the easy suspect to get done. We saw this kind of stuff. We saw this kind of stuff over and over and over again. And it started to remind people that police are just human beings. And there are bad amongst the good as well. And so a lot of these true crime people are starting to get their eyes open about this kind of stuff. That, you need a warrant to come into my house without my invitation. You need to be, if you get pulled over by a police officer and they, for example, want your permission to search your vehicle, you tell them no. You tell them no. Why? Well, I watched a documentary video the other day. I just happened to catch it. Somebody sent it over to me, and I watched it. And it was of a police officer in Florida who had 300 convictions overturned because in many of them, he had planted drugs during the search. He was trying to get on the narcotics team. And they actually had him on his body camera. That's how they eventually caught him, is they could see in his hand, gripped in his hand, a little packet of drugs that he later on went in and planted in the vehicle as he was doing the search. Or you could be like one of my other friends who bought a used vehicle and didn't realize that hidden and down in the seat was some leftover drug paraphernalia in the crack of the seat. He bought an old taxi cab from somebody, and there was some folded up tinfoil that had some drugs or the residue or whatever in it. And it was a thing. You got to know your rights and just stop. TV is not real, right? We know that. Somebody in the chat room just said that. TV is not real. Well, we understand that. The problem is that as people watch this TV, and you know what? You may not watch TV. Several people in the chat, I don't watch TV. Okay, good for you. Good for you that you don't watch TV. You know what? A lot of people do. And if that becomes part of their mantra, that they become inured to seeing police violate people's due process, if they become inured to the ideas that they are sovereign in their own persons and that they have constitutional rights that they can exercise, then they just won't know anymore. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy to watch. But this really ticked me off to watch this kind of thing, and everybody was with a straight face. Oh yeah, sure, you can interview this teen without her parents. you could bust into this guy's house and push past the young boy that was in the doorway, without a warrant because you said you could. I mean, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. Oh, man. All right, let's go over to the phones one more time here before we run out the clock, and then we'll open up the final segment for just whatever comes a knocking. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Mike. Jeff from Homer, listening to you, watching those shows. I'd done the same thing years ago. I don't watch them anymore, but I was involved in straightening some of that out in Maine. You get stopped by a police officer, you can ask him what his probable cause is. If he doesn't answer you, it's very probable he doesn't have a cause. He just stopped you. And, you're very right there. It's like there's a great case. I can't remember what state it's in, but a guy had a Lamborghini and they marked his tires. They took it all the way to Superior Court and he won about 5 years ago. Okay? They deemed that you cannot touch a vehicle without a search warrant in any way, shape, or form. And get this, you can't get a search warrant for chalking a tire.
Right.
Because for a parking ticket.
Right.
So highly illegal any town that does that, but still towns, they do it on the spit. But they go on the top of the tire now. They're polite about it, and it is aggravating to see a brand new $70,000 vehicle with a bunch of tire marks on it just for parking. And all of that is their powers. And there's a lot of officers across the country. And here's something most people don't know: all police officers forever, if they do a crime, they usually don't get fired. They get released and then go to the next town and go to work. They seal their records. That's fact. Okay, we've seen it, and that's how they roll, which is bad. And we kind of tried to help get away from that because they're bad people in every aspect of life.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it's the old axiom that there are bad apples in every barrel, right? That's the thing. I mean, they say, there's bad apples in every barrel. What they don't tell you is the end of that. The end of that statement is, and if you don't take out the bad apples, they'll spoil the whole barrel. One bad apple in a barrel can spoil the whole barrel, and so you've got to get rid of them instead of just acknowledging that they're in there and then going on your merry way.
Right. They should never work again if they're doing things like beating the wife. I know one case in northern Maine where the officer actually beat his wife up, and he was fine, and he went to work at another town. He just had to drive one town down to go to work. That's all. He was working right down there. So,
right.
There's a lot of that goes on. I did a study in the court, and I'm not going to name where, and you could see that the judge there, his boys have been in more trouble, never had a day in jail, never had anything against them. And you research everybody that works in that court, everybody that works in that system, and none of them have anything against them. And some of them drink and drive, and some,
right.
We went in and found this out kind of in the cover. So that'll open your eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody that works in the jail doesn't have any kind of a record, and they're proud about it, but it's all covered up.
Right.
So,
all right.
If there is one.
Well, thank you for reaching out to us, and I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you for calling. Yes, I was going to mention this. Kevin McCabe just linked it in the chat room, but I've talked about this video before. There's a video on YouTube now that's done by a professor at George Mason University, and it's called "Don't Talk to the Police." And it will be the best 45 minutes you've ever spent on YouTube getting an education on your constitutional rights when it comes to the police and why you should never talk to them. And the professor is followed by a multi-year veteran detective on the police department, and he backs up everything that the professor just said. Go watch it. It's out on YouTube. Don't talk to the police. I've posted it on my website in the past and on my Facebook page, but you should go out and find it for yourself. This was just a pet peeve. I wanted to get this off my chest because it's been eating at me for a while now. But as much as, I know many of people enjoy the police procedurals and a lot of these shows and everything else, the problem is that they are basically indoctrinating the people to accept bad behavior. Like this is just normal. And it's not. It's not.
No.
So that's 100%. Jeff, thank you for your call. We're up against the break. We got more coming up. The Michael Duke Show. One final segment on the program, and we will be back to talk about it and more. right after these messages. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for coming in.
Your mental suppository. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the break right now. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I've been talking about that all morning, wanting to get to this point because it's just so irritating to me that most people don't understand their rights and anything else. I mean, the only words, if you're ever picked up by, law enforcement and you get put into one of those, one of the rooms where they're going to talk with you or whatever, the only thing you should ever say is, I need to speak to an attorney. That should be it. And, well, but, what if you got nothing to hide? You should be fine. I'd still like to speak to an attorney. Thank you. I mean, this is just, and don't think that there aren't, again, bad apples in every barrel. So, yeah, you don't have anything to hide, but you also don't want to be caught with your pants down. You never, ever speak to the police. Ever. I saw that same one last week. We often forget that anything you say will be used against you. What you say will never help you in court. Again, the words that won't convict you are the ones that you never speak. My elder brother asked why a cop pulled over his friend and the cop had to get back in his car and go away. Right, I know. They have to articulate a reason for the stop. All right, the Supreme Court is ruling today on whether or not Miranda warning is a constitutional right. I didn't realize that. That'll be interesting to watch. TV watchers equals zombies. I disagree with that. I mean, it can be. I mean, I'm a TV watcher. Brian, am I a zombie? Because I'm a TV watcher, because I like to watch TV on the evenings or the weekends as I'm having a little dinner, relaxing with my wife. Does that make me a zombie because I like to watch, some good fictional show? Or, I mean, am I a zombie because I enjoy watching TV sometimes? I don't watch TV all the times, but what if I did? Does it matter? Let's see. Scattered Monday spaghetti. First of all, wow, a lot of whining going on there. I watch those audit the audit videos where police violate rights and don't understand what freedom of the press is. It's crazy. Yeah, no, that's, in fact, that was the video that I was talking about the police officer who was planting drugs. It was an audit the audit video. I've watched those over the last few months. I've probably watched a dozen of those videos. And you just want an example of exactly, sometimes it's the police officers are doing things through ignorance. Sometimes they're doing it for avarice. Sometimes they're doing it just to spite you. Just because you refuse to buckle to their authority or whatever. Those audit the audit videos are eye-opening. Anybody, you should just go out there and watch a half a dozen of those and then tell me what you think about your interactions with law enforcement. It's insane, man. There is some crazy stuff that's going on there. Absolutely. The audit videos. All right. I'm scrolling back down here. What else we got going on? You watched Raised by Wolves, most original sci-fi. I've seen it in a long time. I have not. I've seen the video for the thing for it, but I have not seen I have not seen that yet. I'm more like a Wookiee than a zombie. That's true. Harry is a Wookiee, and just as angry. I'm like to pull your arms off. People who virtue signal about things like watching TV and eating fast food drive me nuts, said Kenneth. I mean, if people don't want to watch TV, that's exactly, go, man. But I love good movies. I love good stories. I'm a storyteller. That's what I am. I mean, that's kind of, if you want to boil down to what I do in my life, I'm a storyteller, and I love to watch good stories. The Law and Order, not always such a good story. I mean, there are some good stories in there, but not always in some. But it doesn't matter. Yeah, people are like, oh, well, I don't watch television. Well, good for you. Good for you. I do. I mean, you know, that's fine. Movies and sports are okay. Public programming on cable or satellite TV are as addictive as drugs. How many divorces have been caused by soap operas? I don't know. I've never seen the statistical, evidence or the study that showed that soap operas cause divorces. I've never seen that causality, Brian, so I have no idea. But, I mean, probably more marriages are destroyed by sports than soap operas. But, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Man. All right, we're going to open it up here. Final segment of the show this morning. Whatever we want to talk about, we're going to dive into it. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Okay. One final segment of the program this morning. If you'd like to sound off, now's the time to do it. There was some chastisement going on in the chat room because, I mean, why do you watch television? Television is evil and bad, and, I never watch television. Well, again, good for you. If you don't watch television, that's fine. I'm not here to judge one way or the other. I mean, I don't live my life around television. I watch it sometimes in the evenings to digest. Yesterday, my wife and I watched 3 movies in a row. Oh, man. Oh, I mean, there were some good movies, too. I mean, 3 movies in a row. Does that mean that we're drooling idiots because we wanted to spend some time together and enjoy watching movies? Or is that, what? But some people, they just got, man. What movies? Somebody said. Say, I watched the new Spider-Man, I watched the new Venom, and I watched Free Guy with, I just totally forgot his name. Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds. I watched the movie Free Guy. They were all great. I enjoyed them all. It was a great Sunday afternoon. Let's see. But anyway, I think my whole point on this, what I was bringing up, is that people just got to be more educated and informed on their rights and what they can do and what they can't do. Because what they show on television, folks, most of that stuff would get those people fired or at least transferred to some other place. I mean, you gotta know your rights. You got to know your rights and exercise them. That's what it's all about. All right. Let's see what else we got. Oh, so we're one final segment here. If you want to sound off, I'm going to open up the phone lines for you at 907-433-3150. Any topic is fair game. You want to tell me that somebody said that people who watch TVs are zombies. I mean, so I asked the question, well, I watch TV. Am I a zombie because of that? I mean, no, yes. I mean, yes, anything can be abused and exploited, right? So if all you do is watch TV and drool all day, or play Xbox in your basement all day, or if all you do is obsess about your favorite sports team or your favorite political team or whatever, I mean, all of those things could be wrong, right? I mean, all of those things could be basically turn you into a drooling zombie idiot because that's all you focus on all the time. You got to be more well-rounded, That's right. Anything in excess is definitely not a good thing. Doesn't mean you can't take a little bit of everything. That's the whole point. Well, we're waiting for a phone call here. I want to remind you about one of our sponsors, and that would be our friends over at Bivy. The Bivy Stick, B-I-V-Y, Bivy Stick. It is a tiny little device that connects to your cell phone through your Bluetooth. You just Bluetooth it. You tether it to your cell phone. You use the app that you download off the App Store or the Google Play Store, and it turns your cell phone into a satellite communications device. That means that anywhere in the world where you can see the sky and you have your cell phone and you have your Bivy Stick, you could talk to other people via text message, via email. You could send a pin as to where you're at. So if you're out on the trail and you're hiking or biking or kayaking, snow machining, ATVing, hang gliding, parasailing, whatever it is you're doing, you could tell people where you're at. Let them know I'm okay, or I'm hurt, or, anything in between. The unit also provides you with weather forecasts, regular aviation, marine forecasts. It can run 5 continuous days on a single battery charge. They've got new functionality coming out all the time. They're going to be having this thing called Group Track, which I'm going to talk about later on. But this is all of this for $199. There is no go bag in the world that should not have a Bivy Stick inside of it. $199, being able to talk to anywhere, anybody, anytime around the world via text or emails. Why not? And they've got plans starting as low as $14 a month. So, yeah, let's get it done. The Bivy Stick, B-I-V-Y. From your friends at Satellite West, you can go to satellitewest.com for more information, or you can go over to your local dealer. At Fairbanks, it's Arctic Fire and Safety. In Homer, it's South Central Radar on the Spit. It's Safe and Sound in Wasilla, Safe and Sound in Anchorage, and Safe and Sound in Soldotna. Radar Alaska and Kodiak, Communications North in Seward, and Lundy Marine Electronics in Dutch Harbor. Stop into one of these locations. Just check it out and tell them, hey, thanks for sponsoring the Michael Duke Show. Would you do that for me as well? Do me a solid. That's the good stuff right there. Thank you to Bivy Stick and Satellite West. All right, let's go over to the phones and see what some of you have to say. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Ken from North Pole.
Hello, Ken.
Hey, I was calling in. We're talking about you talk about changing out the players in these elections.
Right.
And the one thing I keep going back to is I don't understand, or I'm having a hard time wondering how we can trust the outcome of these elections if they're doing this ranked choice voting when you can't even do a recount without trusting their algorithm. They can't do a hand recount. So how can we really trust that who they say wins is who actually wins?
It does raise some questions, for sure, because they say that they can't do a hand recount because it would be super complex to get it done. You could do it if you hand counted and put it all into a spreadsheet and then figured it out. But you're right. We're depending a lot on an algorithm, and with irregularities of election irregularities that people get concerned about, I can definitely see as how it could create a shaking of the faith, so to speak, in the election system overall.
Exactly. I already question, because when you've got things like mail-in ballots, and ballot boxes, you have problems with chain of custody. But now we're adding in ranked choice voting where, you're not going to know immediately who won, and you have to trust their algorithm and whoever designed the algorithm to tell you who actually won.
Right. No, it definitely raises some concerns, that's for sure. And as we talked about with one of our guests here a couple of weeks ago, who was giving us some of the finer points of ranked choice voting, Dr. J.H. Schneider, who was on the not Dr. J.H. Schneider, it was I've forgotten the doctor's name right now, but we brought him on the program to talk about this, and he basically said, the problem with ranked choice voting is, again, the disenfranchisement of a lot of the minorities and some of the other folks, this is a consistent constant with ranked choice voting. So not only are you worried about what direction the election, you worry about election integrities, but you're worried about the disenfranchisement of this people as well. And yet nobody really seems to be talking about that.
It seems like other than like programs like your show, nobody's really talking about the ranked choice voting at all. Like, at least not up here in the Fairbanks area. I haven't heard anybody talk about it or mention it or what's coming up or anything.
Right. No, I think it's going to be, I'll be honest with you, I think it's going to be a huge surprise to a lot of people when it comes up in the booth. They're going to get in there and go, what? They're just not going to understand. And add to that the fact that you have the special election. So we got the regular jungle primary on the regular election, and then on primary day is the same day as the special general. So you'll have both ranked choice and jungle primaries on the same ballot. I think it's going to be confusing for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. I'm still trying to keep it straight in my head.
Yeah.
You're supposed to vote this way on this one and this way on this one. And it's going to be a problem.
Well, Ken, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you for being part of it here. I got just over a minute here. Let's go to the last caller. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, morning, Mike. This is Herman Morgan from Antioch. I don't need to be anonymous. I'm not scared. Anyhow, I'm 68 years old, and I've been working in politics, and I can tell you what I see what's going on and how to fix it. But if you give me a second, let me speak.
Well, I got less than a minute here, Herman. So we're gonna.
Maybe I'll call back after.
All right, you can call back afterwards. We're out of time for today. That's just how it rolls. Sorry. All right, my friends. Well, we're going to continue tomorrow. Brad Keithley, Chris Story. On Wednesday, Ron Gillum, Mike Shower. On Thursday, potentially Nick Begich and JKT. We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Live well. Be kind to one another. Love one another. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, my friends, that's it for us today. We got to go. Thanks for being part of it. Do me a favor. If you haven't shared it, share it now. Share. Look me, obey. No, just say, if you feel like sharing it, share it, will you? Here we go. The Michael Duke Show.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.